As of 2014, there were 6.9 million Americans who enjoyed and practiced the sport of rock climbing. As 27-year-old Holly Erie of Boulder, Colorado said, quote, "I've never felt in the zone like I do when climbing. You chalk up, pull onto the wall, and everything else in your head goes away. When you finish a route, your mind is clear and you're hyper aware of your body and your surroundings. It makes me feel very present." End quote. This picture that your textbook provides entails beautifully and implies all the activity that is going on in your brain if you, like Holly, practice rock climbing. Although I've never done it, I can imagine the many thoughts and the many firings of neurons that are happening inside. All those would allow the individual to flex a muscle to hold on, or also to empower the body so it could relax when there are high arousal levels. Throughout this chapter, we will learn how the brain is responsible for activities such as rock climbing, thought process, and behaviors in general. In this module, we will learn about biopsychology and its contributions to the understanding of behavior and mental processes. Additionally, you will learn that biopsychology is a subdiscipline of a bigger discipline that we call neuroscience. You will learn about that and other subdisciplines. And lastly, you will learn about neuroplasticity. Some people have defined neuroplasticity as the number one reason why courses like this one exist. Without this, this course would be limited to anatomy and physiology, as all therapeutic processes, whether it be physical or psychological, would be invalidated without this. As of 2007, these 7 places were considered and voted as the current 7 wonders of the world. Despite the various debates by people around the world, we cannot deny the ingenuity that was required to make such complex monuments. These structures of the world have gained notoriety because of the time at which they were built. In fact, considering today's technology, these would be very difficult to build again. And these were done so, for the most part, without any modern technology such as tractors. We look at the Machu Picchu in Peru, and we look at the Taj Mahal in India, and the Great Wall of China, and many others, and we find that the one common denominator that these 7 wonders of the world is that they were constructed by the one 7 wonder of the world that cannot be denied, and that is the human brain. As amazing as all wonders of the world that have been built by humans are, they pale in comparison to this 3-pound wonder, and that is the human brain. The human brain, at only 3 pounds, is extremely complex. It is made up of 100 billion neurons that are arranged in a very complex array, and there are an estimated 100 trillion connections among them. There is almost an infinite number of paths that neural signals can follow based on the neurons. The neurons are these specialized cells that are found in our nervous system. You may remember this from your general psychology course or biology courses, where we find that the neuron, one of the most typical neurons, and we'll talk about various throughout the term, are made up of dendrites. And these are the parts of the neurons that are responsible for receiving impulses. These branch-like pieces are arranged around the soma, or the cell body, and that is this part in here, which has the nucleus in there, and you'll be able to see that in a solar form, almost looks like a sun. And then the message that was received would travel down the axon, which is inside underneath these myelination patterns. And what we see is that at the end, you would have the terminal buttons, and it would be these right here. These would be responsible for releasing the impulse that was received, if necessary. And we find that these impulses actually transmit in what we call electrochemical signals, meaning that within the neuron there is electricity, and we are able to measure that. And then after they leave the neuron and they're found at the synaptic gap, then they become chemical signals. And they interchange in all throughout the brain as they form chain reactions based on action potentials. And some of these terms, by the way, do not feel bad if you do not know them. They may be foreign to you or sound foreign to you if it's been a while since you've taken psychology. But we will recap on all these in here. For now, just wanted you to have some of the basic understanding of the brain and the cells that make up the nervous system. Neuroscience is the scientific study of the nervous system. As you may remember from your general psych class, the nervous system is made up of the CNS, which is the central nervous system, and PNS, the peripheral nervous system. This is of utmost importance as it is the control panel, if you will, of everything that you and I do. Our ability to walk, our ability to speak, our ability to think, our ability to taste, our ability to make sense of what we hear is controlled by the nervous system. And there are a lot of reflexes that are not controlled by the brain, but nonetheless, they're still part of the nervous system. And what we seek to do through neuroscience is understand the behavior and mental processes that are seen in humans and non-humans. However, despite our ability to understand air travel, and we're talking about a very amazing component of understanding gravity and understanding air and understanding temperature changes and our ability to suspend a 40-ton airplane in midair to get you safely to your destination. As complex as it is considered to not be near as complex as understanding something as complex as the brain. And this is a challenge that, as the book describes it, may be the brain's ultimate challenge. Could it possibly ever be able to understand itself? According to various neuroscientists, our understanding of the brain is merely in its infant stage, and this is as of 2017. Despite the technological advances and understanding and contribution from various other disciplines, our brain continues to be least understood organ. Although there are various biopsychology textbooks, I find this to be one of the most thorough at explaining biopsychology. As stated earlier, neuroscience, the scientific study of the nervous system, is comprised of various disciplines. Throughout in future modules, you will be exposed to 7 different disciplines. The main focus will be biopsychology, which is the understanding of psychology through a biological lens. You may remember learning about Freud, the psychodynamic theory. You may also remember learning about Piaget, the cognitive perspective, and perhaps even the humanistic. And as we go through the understanding of human behavior and mental processes, we understand that we put on different lenses to make the most sense out of people's behavior. However, we find that though some of them have good philosophical backgrounds, there are no other fields or disciplines or lenses that provide a more valid statement about understanding behavior and mental processes than biopsychology. And the reason why is because this is rooted at a biological aspect. Now, of course, we cannot deny that there are non-biological factors influencing behavior, and that's where we get into the nature versus nurture. But just like we cannot deny nurture, nature cannot be denied. So we'll be looking at your parents' contributions for your behavior or human behavior as a whole, and we'll be looking at genetic makeups, and we'll look at chromosomal influences and many other factors that influence behavior and mental processes. Another great feature of this textbook is that they often will push you to think creatively about biopsychology. By creatively, we mean think in productive, unconventional ways. In other words, think outside the box. There will be case studies in every chapter that will help us understand the relationship with specific brain parts and behavior. And you will be asked to think about these critically as you read and as you also listen to the lectures. The other important aspect of this book are the clinical implications that are used throughout the textbook. By clinical, we are referring to an illness or treatment, and this would be a study of diseased or damaged brains that would lead to new knowledge. We then take that new knowledge and convert it into a new treatment with the hope of improving or helping individuals live a better life, which is the ultimate purpose of psychology, is to help change/improve the lives of people. Additionally, the textbook makes use of the evolutionary perspective, which is a strong consideration of environmental pressures, some which are predatory, that are likely to influence our brain development and consequently the behavior as well. This is a very important component of the approach that John Pennell, the author of our textbook, uses, as they make use of what we call comparative approach, trying to understand biological phenomena by comparing them to different species. For example, do dogs who behave in a vicious way have any similarities with humans that may behave in a very aggressive and vicious way? And based on the understanding of cells and the brain, we are going to try to connect the dots and therefore validating the first point of thinking creatively and outside the box. And last, the most important of the four is the single most influential discovery in modern neuroscience. Currently, this has influenced many areas of biopsychology, and the questions such as what the adult brain is and how it compares to a younger brain is impacted by the neuroplasticity. Now, plasticity comes from the component of plastic, which is a changeable substance, changeable material, and by attaching it to neuro, we are arguing that this is a changeable organ that continuously grows and changes in response to the individual's genes and experiences. Now, when we look at the adult brain, we understand that it is not a static network of organs. And this has been supported time and time again throughout studies in the past 2 or 3 decades, where individuals who are involved in car accidents oftentimes make recoveries thereafter, and this is because of neuroplasticity. Now, it is important for us to know that the younger we are, the more plasticity we have. The older we are, the less plastic our brain is.